Ta-da! We watched this. It's a patron request for a Backseat critique. Vamps from 2012, starring Kristen Ritter, who's on screen right now, and Alicia Silverstone, who is not. They don't wear this in the film,
You're not
ever.
close enough in frame. Closer.
Or you just like turn the camera ever so slightly.
Yeah, that's probably better. There's a whole gap over here.
Mm-hmm.
We are professionals.
We're really not. Hi guys! So, this is a terrible film. It feels like the writer wanted to have an overarching series like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and was told he wasn't allowed to, and instead had a She?
It's Amy Heckring wrote and directed it.
Oh, okay. Well, Amy wanted a series, Amy didn't get a series, so she tried to condense it into a film. And it didn't work.
I can definitely see that. There is definitely episodic type things.
Oh yeah.
It's like, does feel like bits of a series of episodes just edited together. You sometimes in the 60s you get omnibus film versions of TV shows sort of mixing together. They would just jam 2 episodes together like as a single narrative. This one it's like taking like 7 and put them together.
And what other things did she do?
Clueless, the 3 Look Who's Talking movies, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, for which she invented the modern teen movie, which John Hughes then ran with. So, you know,
So she's to blame for all those shit films.
Well, not really, but this is definitely a bit of a misfire. Beyond that, it's very, very incongruous, incoherent. The bits do not gel at all. You got lots of different sort of things which don't mix, and they're just kind of random, and it is kind of mystifying at times.
And who was the supposed mysterious shadowy figure within the government that was trying to force all the vampires out into the daylight?
No idea.
Exactly. It was just kind of glossed over once they had their inexplicable 2-hour eclipse.
Yeah, their world building was just all over the place and made no sense.
They mixed their vampire lores.
They mixed a lot of recognisable vampire lores, but then they also came up with their own confusing sort of version of vampire lore, which they didn't explain, and they sort of matched that in there sometimes.
Because here's the thing, this was a little kernel of something I thought was really interesting. Your man Ivan, he had like the Nosferatu front 2 teeth, whereas everyone else had like the traditional like incisor teeth.
Sigourney Weaver didn't. She had a whole set of monster teeth.
She did. So that implies that there are different types of vampires. That would have been really cool to look into, like there were different versions of vampires from like different cultures, because there are different legends, but instead she's just kind of grabbed all those legends and kind of mashed them into one society. It's like, no, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then you got your historical incoherence of one the leader of the peacenik vampires is Vlad Tepes, played by Malcolm McDowell, who's elderly, even though Vlad died younger than Malcolm McDowell was in this, and but he's been But the events of Dracula happened, but Vlad Tepes has not been drinking blood for like 350 years, so he can't have been Dracula. And in the book, he wasn't Dracula. Just very, very scattershot, and the shots do not line up.
Yeah, there's also a very large amount of vegan vampires. If there are that many vegan vampires, and a lot of her circle of friends and vampires were still bloodsuckers, that implies that there is a greater number of vampires present in New York City.
Yeah, and building upon that, we have the societal factors going on here. They're vampires must be well known and visible because they're literally doing vampire shit in public, appearing and disappearing, teleporting. They're walking on sides of buildings in full sight of people, and at the same point they're supposedly hidden, and we've got a guy who's murdering vampires who goes around and kills them like a vampire cop, but that's not explained.
It's Van Helsing.
Yeah, but
is it inconceivable, dear?
It is inconceivable. I know the meaning of the word.
Wallace Shawn played Van Helsing, well, the grandson of the Van Helsing from the book. I don't say this lightly. It's a lot like What We Do in the Shadows, but a lot less well thought out.
It's What We Do in the Shadows.
It's a lot
as
more
if
clueless.
someone was trying to make a scary movie out of it. You know, like remember the scary movies where they like parodied horror films,
Yeah.
and like the third one was absolutely fucking shite.
I think they're all
You know what?
shite.
It was like not another teen movie because that was absolutely terrible.
Oh yeah, fucking not another teen movie.
But yeah, if this had been a series released around the same time, it would have lined up really nicely with Sabrina and Buffy, and it would have been a really good show.
I wouldn't go that far.
It
We
would
don't
have
know.
been an interesting
It
show.
certainly would have been better than what we have here. But then again,
And
it
you
could
mean
also be
if it
longer.
came out in the 90s alongside them?
Yeah, if it came out around that time.
Because she spent the entire half the film thinking this was actually made in the 90s.
It looks like it, come on.
It does. Amy Heckering, but that's probably partly to do with her because she basically invented the teen aesthetic, teen movie aesthetic thing in the 80s, and then so and that sort of predicted a lot of things in the 90s. And then she stuck with that sort of look, and so now it's dated. She was ahead of the curve in the 80s, and now she's behind the curve.
Yeah.
And maybe you might be onto something with the TV thing, because she's not worked in film since. She's exclusively been working on TV shows, and there's been multiple adaptations of her films into TV shows. So maybe she did originally want this to be a TV show. I don't know.
You know what it is? It's like a vampire version of the, what is it, was it Touched by an Angel?
With Roma Downey?
Or no, what was the one with the witches?
Witches of Eastwick?
No, it wasn't Bewitched. Fuck, I've completely forgotten now. It was...
Salem?
No.
Sabrina again?
No, it was not Sabrina. It was 3 witches. It was kind of like in the same vein of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but they were good witches.
Charmed.
Charmed. Yeah, it would have fell in the same vein of Charmed.
Okay, so Charmed is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but this is the vampire version of Charmed.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but it is a bit logically weird.
Yeah. In Buffy, all the vampires, bar Angel, were just bad girl. Because they're bad girl. They were demons.
Arg.
They were soulless demons, canonically. The only reason Angel was good and moral was because he had his soul back. And then he lost it and he fucked it all up. In Charmed, they were witches who were just morally good because they were morally good. So therefore, that's why I'm implying it to Charmed, that they choose to be morally good because they have the choice to be morally good.
I think Buffy changed that a little bit towards the end. Demons becoming characters, and
Spike.
even had Spike fighting against his vampiric nature and becoming more thing.
Well, that was because he had a...
That was a retcon, though.
chip.
Yeah, I know. There's retconning going on, but
In
the show itself progressed
there was
in that
Spike's
direction.
chip was like series 5, but then later on he went on he fell in love with Buffy and he went on the quest and he got the soul back. But if you watch it's series 6, if you watch that, it's clearly he's going there to lose his love for Buffy, and that's what he wants. But then they retconned it in series 7 for him. He went there to get the soul back. He never intended to get the soul back if you watch the episode in series 6, but then they changed it in series 7.
Fair enough.
So
the point is, this had no right to be a film.
So
It had no right to exist.
I'm still like,
No film
genuinely
does.
surprised that they got Sigourney Weaver and all into this. It was like I know there was a span of time where she was bored and wanted to do silly shit, but come on! Did she read the script for this?
You
Yeah,
got-
like that Chinese joke, dear God.
You've
So
got
there was a
I called it immediately.
There was a restaurant in Chinatown, and their sire, or whatever they call it in this, murdered an entire Chinese restaurant full of people, and they made the joke about being hungry 30 minutes later. It's like, seriously?
And
Seriously?
as soon as it cut to the scene where Sigourney Weaver is sitting there and all the Chinese people are drained around her, I turned to both of these and says, how long until they make a joke about her being hungry in an hour? And it was literally the first thing she said in the scene.
Yeah, the casting is, you got Sigourney Weaver, you got Alicia Silverstone and Kristen Ritter. You've got Dan Stevens
They
making one of his
didn't
early
even
roles.
use her for a proper climactic fight at the end.
Yeah, she was outplayed by a skeleton.
The special effects shots, the action scenes, the special effects scenes, oh, so fucking terrible. You can tell that Hackering has very little, if any, experience with doing that kind of filmmaking.
Action, yeah.
There's one scene in particular on a rooftop where the green screen effects and the integration with the background is like out of the rooftop scene in The Room. The possibly worse, because the lighting on the people, it's just so fucking terrible. During the climactic fight, though, when you got Sigourney Weaver having been beheaded on top of Ulysses S. Grant's skeleton, sort of having replaced his skull, doing a stop motion fight, it's like that imagery is too good for the film, but the way they did it is just as bad as the rest of it.
Yeah,
but
like they
conceptually, that's fantastic, though.
Like every time they referred to this woman, they referred to her as being too powerful and all that there. And the climactic fight lasted, 30 seconds? And
they're like, she's so powerful, we can't possibly face her, so let's just get like 3 people and then we can face her perfectly fine, it's no problem, it's easy. When earlier on we saw the vampire hunters, their matter of course for killing a vampire was going in there and making sure the room was well lit and then releasing them from the tomb and killing them with sunlight, which makes logical sense. And this one, they could have done something like that. They chose not to.
Also, kind of amusing that their cover to break into the apartment was Time Warner. The cable company is coming for you, yo.
Oh, they also pointed out, they also had someone, introduce this sickle, a typical hand sickle, used for cutting grass and stuff. But they were pointing out, this is used to kill vampires. You put it on around their neck when they're asleep, and then they wake up, they behead themselves. And then they pick up one of these sickles when going to deal with Sigourney Weaver. And they never fucking use it. She gets beheaded with a chainsaw during a fight scene. They don't even attempt to behead her with it.
Did you notice that the chainsaw didn't actually make noise until it started cutting through her neck as well?
The most fake-looking chainsaw I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You need to watch more chainsaw movies.
It's also tiny.
It looked faker than the one we have.
Yeah.
That prop. Because the blade was only like...
maybe a hand?
like that long. It was very obviously something bought from a Halloween prop shop.
But a lot of the problems with the film can be explained away by the fact that if it was meant to be a series, there are lots of little things that they just introduced out of nowhere without any preamble at all. Like towards the end we have this whole thing with the main character and her children and how she's so sad because she had to stop interacting whenever they were grandchildren because the age would start freaking people out. And I was like, this would have been very nice if you had mentioned this before the beginning of Act 3. And then they don't even mention it again after that.
And then randomly we discover that vampire pregnancies are a thing.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Oh, and randomly that you can... oh, okay, that takes us on to the moral conundrum. So we have the second main character is pregnant now. And they decide to save the child. They're going to kill off Sigourney Weaver, which has the knock-on effect that everyone she has sired will become the real age. So potentially killing dozens and dozens of vampires whom we have established can be morally good people for this child.
For this unborn.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially dozens of people.
Oh yeah, it also implies that if she doesn't do this, the body will just reconsume the baby within a week. So why would the body allow itself to be pregnant in the first place?
Oh, and of course we have the fact that
they can't eat.
Yeah, no, we've got her getting pregnant and the friend being, oh my god, I've never come across this. How strange. It's like, okay, you've been alive for nearly 200 years. You've never gone pregnant in that entire time period? Like, you were having sex in the 1800s. How the fuck were you avoiding it?
And it also implied that she was hooking up with random guys.
Yeah, throughout the entire opening sequence.
Including Edgar Allan Poe.
Apparently.
Yeah, there was a picture. She had a picture of him in her little sort of mementos thing, and then they had shot flashbacks of her past, and I'm very sure that was her picking up Poe and possibly being responsible for his death. Very random.
So apparently food's ready, so we're going to have to wrap this up.
Yes. Yeah. The film is incoherent in its way. They do vampires and siring and stuff like that. It makes no sense.
They introduced a major plot point in the second act and resolved it before the second act ended.
Don't punish yourselves. Don't watch it.
Or do, but get high first and laugh.
Omega is there.
The food is ready.
Anyway, yes.
You can't have any audience.
That is Vamps. The only copy we could find was German. But thank you so much for requesting
Might have
it.
been better if we watched it in German.
Pretend it was an art film.
Yeah.
So I might do a whole video trying to explain how vampirism in this works, because it is as incoherent as time travel and Lost in Space, and
This needs a wiki article.
it's just the kind of incoherent that makes my brain go weird until I work it out.
Like I said, it would have been an interesting series if they had had time to work with it, but no. You missed your calling.
Yes, and Vamps. Dating mit bis. I don't know what these words mean.
Dating while dead.